Good morning. I'm Tosin Fakile. We're breaking into your regular programming with a breaking update. Fire officials in Loudoun County have identified the firefighter killed in that home explosion last night in Sterling, Virginia. His name was Trevor Brown with Sterling Volunteer Fire Company. He was 45 years old. Let's go out live now to Sterling, Virginia for that update from police.
After arriving on the scene, our crews found a 500-gallon underground propane tank leaking. The propane from that leak had migrated into the homes. When firefighters arrived in the home, they metered the home, they assessed the situation, and entered the home with the appropriate PPE. At that point, at 20-25 hours, units on the scene reported a catastrophic explosion that caused multiple maydays of our firefighters down inside the structure and injured firefighters outside the structure. Luckily, the two occupants of the home were removed by firefighters upon our arrival, as well as some of the pets, and we can credit our firefighters for the removal of those citizens. Efforts to locate and rescue the trapped firefighters, immediately commenced, and at 20:28, a rapid intervention task force and a second alarm was requested to the scene. At 20:36 hours, a second mayday occurred, a second firefighter trapped under debris in trouble. At 21:15 hours, the incident command reported that all units were accounted for and receiving medical care. That was somewhat chaotic as we tried to figure out how many firefighters were trapped under debris and what you see at the scene. It is a heavy heart that we announced that one firefighter from the Sterling Volunteer Fire Company was determined to be deceased on the scene. There was a total of 10 firefighters transported to local hospitals, to include the Washington Burn Center in Washington, D.C. There are 2 career firefighters and 7 Sterling Volunteer Fire Company personnel injured, and again, the one deceased, and 1 firefighter from Fairfax County received injuries and was transported. Next of kin notifications have been commenced and completed. We have been in contact with the family of the deceased firefighter and offering our full assistance to that family, as well as the county's assistance at this point. There were 2 occupants of the house, as I mentioned, and both of them were able to escape with minor injuries and have been released. Staff personnel have been assigned from fire and rescue to the hospitals to assist all those that remain in the hospital, and we're assisting the Fire Marshal's Office. The Loudoun County Fire Marshal's Office remains on the scene, and they'll be there for an extended period of time doing an origin and cause investigation to determine the cause of this fire. At this time, I do not have any complete cause of the fire. We can assume it was propane related, but no complete cause has been initiated. We will provide additional updates as they become available. As far as the deceased name is Trevor Brown of the Sterling Volunteer Fire Company. He's 45 years old, survived by a wife and 3 children. The family asks that you please respect their privacy in this time of difficult times. Last night, Firefighter Brown was transported to the medical examiner with full honors, with full escort, and that's where he'll be until an autopsy is completed and then ultimately a cause of death is determined at some point later on. Our fire and rescue staff will continue to work on 4 pillars throughout the coming days and weeks. First and foremost is to take care of our family, our fire department family. Our system members' welfare is our highest priority. Those that are in the hospital and those that have also received trauma on the scene of this emergency. We have an extensive behavioral health and peer support team in progress at this point, and we offer our full peer support to our members. As mentioned, we are completing the origin and cause investigation, which will take several days by our fire marshal staff. We also have a significant incident investigation team formed, which will look at all aspects of this incident, what we did right, what we could have done better, and that will be joined by members of outside Loudoun County Fire and Rescue to get an objective look at our investigation. And finally, we have a funeral to plan, and that work is already ongoing now to work with the family to honor their wishes so we can honor the loved one of firefighter Trevor Brown, and that is also ongoing. We are meeting with the family today. As of this time, besides Trevor Brown, who is deceased, 4 members of our system remain in the hospital in varying levels of injury. We expect them all to survive and receiving care at least 3 of the hospitals in our area, to include Washington MedStar Hospital Burn Center in DC. At this time, I and my staff and folks with me are available for questions.
I can't imagine what is going through your mind. I can see, Phyllis, you are fighting back tears. Huge loss for the community. Can you talk to me about standing there and delivering this news? What's going through your mind?
It is, as a fire chief, it's the worst thing we could possibly do, right? It's a thing we trained for not to do. In a sense, we lost a family member. We lost one of our own as a system. Doesn't matter if it's career or volunteer, we lost a family member. And quite frankly, it's like losing one of our own. In another sense, it's proud that, quite frankly, we're probably lucky we only have one fatality. 14 people injured. Our folks were in that house when it exploded. And that's a miracle. I just spoke with the homeowner with a minor injury, and we saved her. So our folks did their job, they showed up, and they did what they had to do. We prepare for this. We have a full plan for dealing with line of duty deaths. We hope we never have to use it, but we're using it today.
Hey Chief, what do you want people to know who may have the same sort of gas system as this house, who may be smelling the things that some of the neighbors told us they were smelling throughout the afternoon and evening before a 911 call was actually placed, so that way something like this doesn't repeat itself?
First and foremost, if they smell any type of gas, whether it's natural gas or propane, to call 911. That is, the occupant did the right thing. She called 911. She's alive today because she did. So this was a propane tank isolated to this home, so we have no expectation that this is a widespread problem or incident. It is isolated to this particular home. Part of our investigation will find out why this gas seeped out of the tank and why it went into the home and why, quite frankly, it exploded the home. So that's part of the investigation that's ongoing.
And just to follow up, if I may, can you just go through that timeline one more time? Firefighters get there. How long after the firefighters are on the scene does the house explode?
So our units arrived on the scene with a propane tank. I'm just looking at my notes here. We arrived at 1948 hours. Just within 10 minutes we arrived on the scene, again, for an investigation. The explosion happened at 20-25 hours. So again, we got on the scene at 1948. Going through that investigation, they probably started outside because that was the report of the leak, looking outside, entering the home, and then at some point 20-25. We don't know what caused the explosion, but certainly any ignition source will cause an explosion if there's a level of gas.
And then can you just speak to what it's like as a chief? I know it's part of the job. Sometimes it's what you sign up for, but having to plan a funeral for a fellow member of the fire and rescue community, what it's like?
Devastating. Myself, the county administrator, spoke with the wife this morning. We delivered the news to her that her loved one died about 1 a.m. this morning. There's 3 children in the house. And we spoke to her this morning. Very strong woman, I will say, and we offered our full support. We will not leave her side until she asked us to leave her side. We have family liaisons that will be assigned to the family. So that's our focus now, is her, the wife and family, but our whole entire family. We have over 2,000 career and volunteer members of our system, and we have to support every one of them right now. So.
Chief, for people who didn't know Trevor Brown, could you speak to his character, what he was like?
He was a member for 6 years. I'll offer Chief Buchanan. Again, we're such a large system. I personally did not know Trevor Brown. About 6 years in our system, I know he did leave, move away for a little while, but he's back volunteering in the Sterling Volunteer Fire Company.
Yeah,
anything to add?
as soon as he moved back into the area, he came back and rejoined. As soon as he got back in the area, he came back and rejoined the fire department. You know, he had to leave because of a job, and then came back to this area. But he's been a very dedicated member, and riding up there for, like I said, over 6 years now.
You know, I think most of us, I started, I know Chief Williams, most of us started as volunteers in our careers. I'm a 4th generation volunteer. It makes no difference whether you do this for pay or whether you do this for volunteers. The hazards are the same to all of us.
Sir, if the crews knew about the leaking tank on their way in, and you're talking about it on the radio, why were there firefighters in the basement of a house with 500
Yeah, and that, just to be clear, that propane tank is off to the side of the house. It's not in the basement. So that tank, one, we have to check for occupants. We make sure that everybody's out of the house. And then we have to control the leak. That's our job, to try and control the leaking propane, right? If we have 500 gallons, we don't wait till all 500 gallons is leaked out of the tank. We have to try and control that. We did request a hazardous materials response, and our hazardous materials response teams deals with these type of leaks all the time, and that's their job. And so we were trying to mitigate the emergency and make it safe for the surrounding neighbors and the homeowner.
Was there any history of leaks with this particular propane?
I do not have any information on that.
What role is Washington Gas playing in this investigation?
I don't believe any. The propane is not, as far as I know, is not supplied by Washington Gas. I don't know, we're still in the investigative mode. I cannot release the company's name that supplied the propane. That'll be part of the investigation, of course.
The house next door is boarded up. Can you just talk to the residents around here what they need to know, what other houses have been affected?
Sure. So the fire marshals deal with structure and the safety of structures as well. We do inspections. So our staff is evaluating that house. There is significant damage to that house, and if it's deemed uninhabitable, they will post that structure and not allow people inside of it until a contractor can come out and either repair or do whatever they need to do.
Is that the only one? Or
There is damage to other homes, but that one to the right, as you see the scene, is very significant.
I'll just ask one more thing. I mean, we've been out here a lot of us since very early this morning, and we've seen dozens, if not hundreds, of people kind of file in and just see what happened in their community over the past couple of hours. If there's something that you could say to them as, when they're looking at all this damage, things to look out for, so that way, again, that this doesn't repeat itself, what would you say to those folks?
One, thank you for the support, and I'll get to that in a minute. But again, reiterate, if there's ever emergency, smell of gas, propane, natural gas, whatever it may be, you call 911. That's our job, to respond and take care of these emergencies. And again, I will credit our folks with saving 2 lives last night. Unfortunately, one firefighter lost their life. It's not what we ever look forward to, but we all go into this job and volunteer a career knowing that could happen. I will speak to the level of support. I am joined today by, obviously, our chair of the Board of Supervisors, and Supervisor Glass, Supervisor Brisman, and Sains was here last night, Supervisor Sains. Our entire Board of Supervisors, our county administrator standing off to the right here, Tim Hemstreet. We received tremendous support. I've had local politicians reach out. I have probably had some kind of text or email from every single fire chief, it seems like, in the Commonwealth of Virginia, offering their support. We are a family, we are a system, and whether it's here in Loudoun County, statewide, nationally, we come together in times of need, unfortunately, or fortunately, and it's comforting to know that we have this support. So our work is kind of done operationally, but we have lots of work to do a lot of things to take care of the family and the system members.
one more question. Is it normal for a home to have that much?
That's pretty normal to have that size tank supplying a home. Again, some homes are supplied heat by gas, natural gas, which is Washington Gas, or piping underground. Some propane, some's electric. So all of us have various levels of heating and fuel in our home. Some are fuel oil, right? We don't see as much fuel oil, but there's many different ways to heat your home, and propane is one of them.
Chief, maybe you want to tell them not to set up any funds here?
Yeah, Chair Randall just reminded me, we're working with the family right now. There's a lot of benefits that come, and I say benefits in the sense of assistance to the families. We're coordinating all that from the county standpoint and from a lot of entities. We're working on that, so if there's any kind of information as far as funds or anything like that, we'll work with our PIO office, Public Information Office, to get that to everybody. We want to do this right. Sometimes we have to be careful and do this right and do it safely for the family and not intrude on their privacy. If no other questions, thank you so much for being here and your patience.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And what you just heard was the conclusion of that press briefing from Sterling, Virginia, on that home explosion that happened. A lot of information coming out from there. First of all, they have confirmed that the firefighter that died was Trevor Brown. He was 45 years old, and he leaves behind a wife and 3 children. They say he was in the system, the firefighting system, that service, for about 6 years. He left, and then he came back. They said he came back to join that fire department. They say he was a very dedicated dedicated member of that fire department, or a fire service in Loudoun County. We're also learning that 13 people were injured. 4 people were told are still in the hospital with various level of injuries, and those 4 people are firefighters, and officials say they expect those 4 still in the hospital. They're expected to be okay. So here's the information of what they believe led up to this explosion. The fire chief there that you were listening to, he said there was 500 gallons of underground propane tank. That tank was off to the side of that house, and they say the leak from that tank migrated to the home. And when they got to the scene, they assessed the situation, entered the home, they say with the right PPE, and then that catastrophic explosion happened. I'm looking at my notes here on the screen and looking at the timeline of how this happened. The chief said when they first arrived on the scene, it was at about 7:48 last night. That explosion went off at about 10:25, so about 35 to 40 minutes in the time of them getting on the scene, and the explosion happened. The chief running down what happened. There was a mayday call of firefighters down inside the building. They said the 2 people that were inside the home, luckily firefighters were able to take them out and their pets. And a second alarm for mayday came in at 20:28. At 20:36, a second mayday happened. There was a firefighter trapped. That call for that came in at 21:15 hours. So that's about 9:15. And all units, they said, were accounted for at some point and receiving medical care. And the chief was talking about how chaotic it was to figure out how many firefighters were under the debris. A total of 10 firefighters, we heard, were taken to the hospital, some of them at the Washington Burn Center. We're told some of those firefighters are career firefighters. Some of them are volunteer firefighters. This is video, a drone video from Tim Pruce of that scene yesterday from that incident that happened, the home explosion. You could hear just how emotional the fire chief sounded describing what happened that day. We're told the fire marshal is on the scene and will be there for a while. We're also told fire personnel were sent to the hospital to help those who are injured. As for the cause of the fire, they suspect that it has something to do with that propane tank, but they don't know that for sure. That is what the fire marshal is on the scene trying to figure out. Again, once again, that firefighter that died, he was a volunteer firefighter. His name was Trevor Brown. He was 45 years old. He was survived by his wife and his children. We're told his body has been taken to the medical examiner's office. It was taken with full honor and escort, officials are telling us, and they say he will remain there until an autopsy is completed. And of course, the chief described what happened yesterday and the people and losing Trevor Brown. He says that is a family. That is how he described it. It's like losing a family. Funeral plans, we heard, are being made. He says they're working hand in hand with Trevor Brown's wife to figure out how this is going to work. The family obviously asking for space and time at this hour. Once again, obviously, because they can't say for sure if this started with a propane tank, but obviously because of that propane. But the chief is reminding people, if you smell anything at all at any point in time, you're asked to call 911. And he says the owner of the home was injured a little bit, thankfully okay, but they called 911, and he said that was the right thing to do at that time. And they say the propane was isolated to that home. There's no expectation of a widespread issue. And they were also talking about part of the investigation is to figure out how the gas that leaked out seeped from that propane tank and bled into the home. That is something else that you're going to have to look into and try to figure out. And obviously a reminder again, if you smell anything at all, they're asking you to call 911. They're telling us they delivered the news to Trevor Brown's wife at about 1 o'clock yesterday, 1 o'clock in the morning actually, and they've been in contact with her. The chief says they will not leave her side until she asks them to, and the wife is their focus. So it's a very difficult time for that fire family, for that fire department as they work through this. And once again, we'll recap what everything that the press conference just happened this morning after that home explosion in Sterling, Virginia that happened last night. If we have the video, we can pull it up so we can show you just how extensive that area was yesterday and just how much was going on and the damage left behind. The chief said, as you can see right there, that was the scene from yesterday. This is drone video from Tim Pruce. Now, the chief says obviously that house, they have to investigate and see what happens and deem if it's even inhabitable or not. That house majorly and heavily damaged. We're told the homes next to it also suffered some damage as well. That is what we know at this hour. There's not many damage to other homes, but they say that home, they're trying to work to see if it is at all inhabitable. And that's the latest information that we have at this moment. Again, just to recap what we learned from that press briefing, the name of that firefighter who died, 45-year-old Trevor Brown. He leaves both behind a wife and 3 children. We're told 4 firefighters are still in the hospital. They have people in the hospital helping them and in this time of need. And that time frame from when firefighters arrived at the scene and when they left was when the explosion happened was about 35 to 40 minutes, and 13 people were injured in this. We're told 4 people still in the hospital. Stay with DC News Now. We'll keep you up to date as the story develops. We'll have more information in our newscast coming up at 6 o'clock.